everyone. Hello and welcome to the MegaMonsterCast. For today, we are talking about Godzilla Singular Point, Episode 6. I am
Yeah.
Nick. With me is Alex. Jesus Christ, what is going on today? With me is just Josh. It's been a hot minute since we've had Alex on, recording wise.
It's been nearly a month.
Yep. Yeah. Today we're talking about Singular Point. I'm gonna spoil the viewers. We're gonna talk about 2 episodes, but you're only gonna see one right now.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna start by saying I thought this episode was kind of boring.
It
Like there's
was.
parts that are good, parts not really as good.
Yeah, it's the beginning that's kinda good.
Mhm. Yeah, like
And then it just takes a getting dump.
like that scene where all the Rodan are flying through the city
Mhm.
as the little kid is walking up. Like that's such a good image. Just this
Do
little kid
you
holding.
recognize the stuffed animals that he's grabbing?
Oh goodness, let me go back and look. Let me go back a little bit.
There are
I think I saw
potentially four.
Gigan. Is that Gigan in there?
You
No, it's
have potentially Kong, because there's a gorilla.
okay.
You have Zilla.
Okay, sure,
The turtle shell on the bottom left is from the animated Zilla cartoon, just
sure.
called the giant turtle, which is
Awesome.
fucking lame.
Hmm.
And the claw with the wing, Gazuki.
All right, sure. So we just decided to throw all the B-listers in that one.
Yeah, we did.
All right, cool. Like I saw the frill, and at first I thought it was like a buzzsaw blade. I was like, is that a really bad Gigan?
No, we
Okay.
could only wish.
Yeah. So then the Rodan continue their propagation of the blood mist.
Yeah. God, it would have been so much better if it was a blood mist. But for this podcast, it is.
Mhm. As they destroy Manhattan.
Wasn't
Um,
it already destroyed enough?
yeah. It's again, there's a lot that's interesting about this show, but I feel like they get bogged down in the wrong parts. Like there's clearly some cool action, and then we get actually like some cool action here and there throughout the show, so far at
Mm-hmm.
least. But it's just all the stuff happening around it slows it down.
Yeah.
And like it's
It's
okay.
just
It's okay not to
too.
have action. Just,
It's
eh.
just too much drama and exposition, and it's always the same exposition.
Yeah, like the talk about like the other universes and stuff, like we get that all the time in this show, which I don't remember for sure if that was this episode or the next episode that they
We
lean
get a
on that.
good we get a good bit in the next episode.
Yeah, I was gonna like I feel like we get that over and over again.
Mhm.
Anyway though. So we get the official name drop of Salonga, which again, dope. Um I appreciate that they're trying to set up a lot of things all at once, and they are using a lot of really cool kaiju. But like the fact that talking about Salunga, we get like some stuff setting up him, and then it immediately cuts to and let's go to the library, and now it's uh the lady and her robot buddy doing research together again. Like there's nothing wrong with having that in shows, but I feel like that's all we see her do. anymore.
Is
It's just
that
like,
that is all we see her do. She's either researching or she's sitting inside some vehicle talking to somebody.
and like,
And we get that again with her. She's in a vehicle later on
yeah.
with someone else.
And there's nothing inherently wrong with having those things, but like, it feels like she's very divorced from the rest of the story because of that. Like she
Like,
doesn't get to play with the other characters. And considering this is our main female character and she's like relegated to, oh, you're gonna be super important because you're gonna be the scientist over there.
well, that's like the big thing. Like, this show chose too many protagonists
Hmm.
to fit in one show.
Yeah, which I feel like it should have just boiled down to the white-haired guy and her, and that should have been the two main characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's how like the initial pitch started, and then it just kept adding characters on.
Yeah, let's do this and this and this. And then, like, what if we added AI character too?
There's nothing wrong with that either. Like I'm fine with that.
It's,
The problem is
it's just so much. It's too busy for its own good.
but I get it to a certain extent because I think they realized they had written her without any other characters to interact with really. And because of that, like they needed someone who would be there with her. And the problem is they weren't smart enough. Well, I shouldn't say that. They just couldn't think of a way to fit another character in on this. So instead, she's just talking to the computer the entire time. And
Yeah.
like, I don't know, it's lame, but they also just did a lot of lame stuff with her story so far.
Yeah, and God, I agree with you. It should have just been her and him. Like, they could have just been out there field researching this whole thing.
Mhm. I think that would have been a much more interesting show. Is like maybe have them interact with like people outside of the field sometimes, but I think a really cool show would have just been sending them out into the field because they get a report on some kaiju and they go and they do field research on it. And maybe every now and then they fight one with Jet Jaguar, but for the most part it's just them out there uh, researching kaiju and seeing them out in their element. I think that would have been a much cooler show.
Yeah, just keep the old man. Keep the old man
Oh,
deserves to be in the
absolutely.
show,
Yeah, no, he's the guy who sends them out on missions. There you go.
and then comes around and fucks the mission up
Yeah,
completely.
yeah, no, he's the one who comes in with Jet Jaguar every time they actually need him.
Oop,
Yeah.
don't care.
Um. So like they introduced the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and stuff, and like again, it's all these things have potential to them, but like, is this character gonna matter any more than like
Nope.
any of the other? Yeah, I was gonna say like we get like one like characters who just eat up like a few minutes here and there, and this show has so many things that eat time that really they needed to trim the fat. Like this entire scene of them talking could have been just trimmed entirely.
Yeah,
Like there's some interesting stuff.
or like what you brought up like a few episodes ago. They could have just dedicated a full episode or two to these kind of things. So that way we're not
Yeah.
bouncing back and forth every five. Well, actually, really every 2 to 3 minutes we get a new shot.
Yep. And they never sit on any one character's scenes long enough to do anything with them. Like it kind of almost feels like it was. So I had read recently that like the human ability to the human ability to pay attention, the attention spans of just people in general, have deteriorated a lot. Like, I don't know about you, but like growing up, I was always told like the human attention span is about 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
It's dropped down to like 3 minutes now, apparently.
Oh dear God.
So, like, maybe they're just trying to build the show around that by constantly changing things every few minutes. But, I mean, come on. Anyway, though, so after talking with the foreign affairs minister person, she runs off to talk to the scientist, Mrs. Lee, the woman that
Ow.
she got in contact with, who she rendezvoused with the last episode or the episode before.
I think it was last episode.
Hmm.
It's been a minute.
Yep. And she shows her that, oh hey, high dimensional twisting and all this like science techno babble bullshit.
Music.
Yep, it's all music. It's a Grant Morrison comic book. Everything's music. And then they cut to Jaguar fighting Ongiris.
Yeah. And then he gets his ass whooped and gets mounted by Anguirus
Yes.
for like a split second. I was like, wait, what? And then he just kind of rubs his nuts on Jaguar and walks away.
Yep. Because he sees the future.
Yeah. Insert that fucking abridged meme with "I can see the future."
Yeah. Yep.
Can you
Uh,
stop,
again,
dog?
I feel like this is the interesting part of the story, is which I mean should be the interesting part of the kaiju.
Yeah.
And like this goes to show we don't need like kaiju being like aggressive constantly. It's interesting just to see them out in the wild and like, oh, we can occasionally get a fight, but we can also like see them do other stuff. Like, again, just missed fucking potential.
Oh yeah. I think
Anyway, the
that's.
military shows up.
I don't know. Godzilla has always had a problem with human characters. So.
Yeah, although I would say I'm not going to talk about the legendary movies because I don't care much for those, but the last two like live action Godzilla properties that I can think of that are not legendary both did a really good job of using human characters.
Well, yeah, but they also did a good job of making them feel realistic
Yeah,
and actually made them interesting instead of just generic.
fair. I feel like that's the problem is this show doesn't like I feel like it could make these characters more realistic if it didn't stretch itself so thin.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have four members of the Jet Jaguar team. Cut that down to two. I understand like I like some of the characters on that team, but realistically like do we need the two guys and the old man and the lady? Let's just cut it down to white-haired dude, old man.
Yep.
Bring in our researcher, have her be the third member of that team. It cuts her story, like it incorporates her storyline, and it fixes the bloat. Like she can still do research, but just have her do research that's connected to what they're doing that episode, which I get. Like I'm sure this is going to build up to something important, but
Eventually.
I don't know. You can still make it work that she figures this stuff out through field research.
Yeah,
Anyway,
like it's kind of like you said, like the whole legendary films. I think the last one kinda did the people a lot better because they focused on the kaiju about 90% of the film, and most of it was research. The only thing I will say with the legendary one, they focused on the little girl too much again for being like the Mothra Conduit.
Hmm. Is that the Stranger Things girl?
No, thank God, no. They left her out.
Okay. Anyway, then we get Anguirus dying because I guess Jaguar explodes or some bullshit.
Well, also, what the fuck do they have against Anguirus? He has to die miserably or get miserably just maimed in everything he's in.
I think they made this one a female, right?
I think
Yeah, I think they did. I think this one's a female.
the
Uh,
point stands though.
yeah. And then we get this weird looking freaky dude who has a
Uh,
cool scene next episode, but this episode he's just being weird and hanging out with an Indian girl? I don't know.
I thought that was his daughter.
If so, the apple fell very far from the tree, and she definitely looks like mom. You're probably right. Like, again,
Yes.
I'll I own up to the fact this episode did not hold my attention nearly as well as the next episode does. The next episode I was like into. This episode drags.
Yeah. I got it just literally got to the point. She screams dad.
Okay, yeah. And it says Tosan on here, which I know is dad, but eh. Then we get the
Uh,
Navy. We get
yeah,
the
we got another wasted moment with
yeah,
Manda.
get another wasted moment with Ebera.
God
I'm gonna
damn
say
it.
all. I'm gonna. Anytime we see anything in the water, I'm gonna call it by the wrong name. I've decided on that already.
God, God damn. I God, I wish they would have actually added Ebera in here.
Would have been kind of fun. I think Ebera is kind of a dumb kaiju, but like
It's so
it's
just a
a
giant
fun dumb.
lobster.
Yeah, like it's again, that's what this show should have been about. It should have just been like a fun like let's look at the kaiju show. Like have like and, like some of these scenes work. Like I like this Navy scene. I think it's cool. Like this is actually the part of the episode I liked the most.
Really now.
Well, anything that involves the water this episode I really like.
Okay.
It's technically it's not this scene, but it's connected in a way. Like I think the stuff that they're doing, like they're setting up with the water scenes, is good.
Good, because you're gonna lose that here very soon.
Oh, I'm not even remotely surprised. But yeah, then we get an unknown kaiju, and that's when we get Mothra surfacing.
God,
Mothra somehow looking suspiciously reptilian and having the Godzilla theme playing in the background as it surfaces.
this this
I
should
like.
not have been Godzilla's design.
I don't hate this design. I just don't think it's a good Godzilla design.
Like when I first watched this, like I didn't even pay attention to the music.
Mhm.
I thought it was Titanosaurus.
Yeah, I could see that. Again, this is a. Again, I don't think it's a good Godzilla design. I think it's a really good kaiju design, though. I think this looks sick as fuck. It just shouldn't be Godzilla.
Oh my god, I don't know. Once we actually get into the Godzilla design, God, I hate it. I hate it so fucking much.
Fair. Again, I like this aquatic form, but I don't think it's a Godzilla form, in my opinion. Like,
Yeah,
it works really well until you say it's Godzilla, and then it doesn't work as well.
you know, like oh, like the stupid bug-eyed one from Shin Godzilla worked better than this.
Yeah, but he was delightfully derpy.
He was so derpy.
There's fucking blood everywhere. Uh,
Also, would have made the show better. It made more sense.
yeah. I mean, I think they wanted to do that, but they couldn't really do it. Yeah. That was my favorite part of the episode. we, the fucking Manda's running away from Godzilla.
The fucking Free Willy scene where it just jumps over.
Yep.
Um,
Which I mean, considering that happens like 2/3 of the way into the episode, and we still have a third of the episode left, and that
Uh,
scene is maybe 3 minutes at most,
yeah.
probably two.
Like I said, this show says Godzilla, but you get very, and I mean very little Godzilla.
Yeah, I can. I get it. I get what they're trying to do. But at the same point in time, if you're going to do that, you need to have way more focus on other kaiju.
Mm-hmm.
For a TV show, you can't like minimize Godzilla as much as they are. And that's not to say like you can't do that with other things, but you kind of need to have like a little more something happening. Uh, then my favorite, my second favorite scene where Anguirus gets back up after they think it's dead and
And
scares the
Tristan.
fucking newscaster.
Yeah.
Again, though, like
Uh, and then
I,
it does my favorite part: beheads the fuck out of Jet Jaguar.
yeah, yeah, and I just like that moment where like the newscaster's in front of it and then it opens its eyes and stares directly into the camera.
And then after he beheads it, the old man is knocked out, and we do the smartest thing that they've done this entire season. I don't know why he didn't do this at the very beginning to reduce the danger factor. Put the AI in Jet Jaguar.
It's because the old man has pride,
The
which
old man's got arthritis.
they also set up earlier on potentially doing that. They started like dropping threads for that in episode two,
It was two or
two,
three when
yeah,
they
two or
kind of.
three, yeah,
I think it was no. I think it was actually two, because that's when we get that like Rodan fight.
yeah, yeah. It establishes that like semi early,
But just fucking do it.
yeah, yeah. It took too long to get to the point where the AI is just Jet Jaguar now.
uh, but even then, they make this super decision to put our white-haired protagonist on Jet Jaguar.
I mean, yes. Although I do think there's ways to work around that. Like, oh, I need to get closer so I can research. Bring me in closer, then I'll hop off. And then he hops off, like closer, but still not in the fray. Like, I don't know. There's ways to write around these problems, or like have some of your cake at least. Like we didn't need
Oh.
him to be on Jet Jaguar. He could have been close to Jet Jaguar.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like this episode isn't bad. It's just kind of boring, which I feel like has been the biggest problem with a lot of these episodes. They're not bad. They're just boring.
Yeah, I remember the first time watching this, like I binged it
Hmm.
and I walked away feeling very disappointed.
See, I almost feel like this would probably be a better experience binging it because like watching week to week or like week to every couple of weeks with how things have been going, like it's hard to care about some of these characters, and it's hard to like stay invested in the story. Like
Binged it, and I still don't care about the characters.
that's fair, but like at this point, I know I knew at least some of these characters' names at one point. I don't remember any of their names anymore.
I'm glad you knew about him because I still don't.
Yeah,
Like the old man's my favorite character, and I still don't remember his name.
it's fair.
I think it was Gojo or something.
Probably. Yeah. That was the episode. A lot of wasted potential. Should be better than it is.
But it's not.
Yep. Anyway, tune in next time where we talk about the first episode that actually managed to keep my attention since episode one. Bye bye.
But